I'm Richard Phillips Stroud, Senior, Lieutenant, Junior grade officer in the Naval Air Corps, Navy pilot that flew off of aircraft carriers. I was born September the 9th, 1926, 3 miles southwest of Bonham, Texas. There wasn't any medical doctors, there wasn't any electricity, there wasn't any radio, there wasn't any televisions. So I was born with my grandmother helping my mother deliver me.
How do you fly a Piper Cub when you're 15, not old enough?
When I was 15 years old, we had about 160 acres of land and had one big meadow that there's a J3 Piper Cub landed on it one day, and the pilot asked me if I'd like to go for a ride, and I told him sure. So he took me up, explained to me all about the controls and everything, and he let me land one time, and when he came back, he said, he got out and he said, okay, it's yours. So I soloed when I was 15 years old.
How'd you join? Where did you sign? Lay your life on the line.
World War II started in 1941, and I was in high school. I graduated in 1944, and the law then was that on your 18th birthday, you got drafted in the Army if you're physically able. But if you didn't want to go in the Army, you had to volunteer for the Navy or Air Force or Marines while you were 17. So as soon as I graduated, I volunteered for the Navy and told them I wanted to fly, and they gave me a bunch of tests, and I did good on my tests.
You turned 17, never looked behind, like nothing to it. One day you sang.
I went through radio school, and I was number one in the class, and I got promoted. Then I went through radar school. I was number one and got promoted again. I went through gunnery school. One of the final tests in gunnery school, they set me on a skeet range and let me shoot one at a time 300 clay pigeons. I was the first one in the history of the Navy to hit all 300.
How do you live to be 93? Fight your wars, make it home alive in one piece.
I was on the way to the Southwest Pacific. I got to California to go on my carrier, and the World War II ended. Laughingly, I always taken credit for ending World War II because Emperor Hirohito heard that sharpshooter Texan boy is on the way, and he said, "I give up."
One day you're South Pacific bound, machine gunner. Next day you're racing through the clouds. Kinda makes me wonder, how do you live to be 93?
On the east coast of the United States and the west coast of the United States, there's a 12-mile international limit. Russian submarines were coming up as close as he could to the shore, letting spies off, and then they'd come back later and pick the spies up. Well, our squadron, we were in the air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 2 years, and we cruised from Cuba to Iceland, and anytime we caught a Russian submarine inside that 12-mile limit, we'd sink it. Okay, one of the planes had a big radome under it. Radar would pick up a submarine, so the other plane was a killer plane. That's what else it was loaded. It had bomb bays that was full of depth charges and torpedoes and acoustical mines, and so the pilot in the radar plane would vector me to where the submarine was, and I had a searchlight on one wing that if it nighttime, I could turn it on, and when I got there, I could see the submarine and let him at it. I'd been up 8 hours on patrol. Like I say, it was during wartime. There was radio silence. The carrier couldn't call me, and I couldn't call them. The carrier ended up at a Category 4 hurricane. So when I got there, I immediately calculated how far it was to runway on the U.S. soil. And I didn't have enough fuel to make it. I made 6 passes, and the LSO, the landing signal officer, it was his job to determine that if he gave me a cut, that the deck would be level enough at that point that my tail hook could grab a cable, and 6 times it wasn't level enough. On the 7th pass, the LSO gave me a cut. There are 9 cables across the deck that you hook on. I caught the 9th cable.
How'd you land that Navy plane in the middle of a hurricane?
And there were already 17 planes tied down on the front of the carrier. They taxied me up to that and tied mine down real quick. Stepped down out of my plane. Of course, it was pouring down rain like, pouring out of buckets. And when I turned around, the admiral of the task force that was usually sitting up in the superstructure in a recliner watching flight operations, he just standing there getting soaking wet. He walked up to me and he stuck his hand out and he said, "Son," he said, "that's the most unbelievable bit of flying I've ever seen." He said, "I'd already kissed you goodbye." And I told him, I said, "That wasn't me flying that plane. That was my co-pilot." He said, "You didn't have a co-pilot. That's a single-engine airplane." I said, "I sure did." I said, "My guardian angel was in there with the night, and he's the one that landed the plane safely."
When they wave you off the last 6 times, you're lucky 7, 9 cables down. You hit number 9. Thank God in heaven. How do you live to be 9? 93. Fight towards
Next morning at daylight, all 18 planes had disappeared. They were washed overboard.
You know, any way the wind blows, you gotta have a good co-pilot.
At that time, there wasn't any record of any other pilots that were still alive. That I'm the last one that knows that this happened.